I think one of the great things that you do is branding. And you're a perfect example of how branding is not just a logo. That's what we want to do here. We want to take you to the next level. We want you to achieve your goals.
Yep, everything's good to go. We are live.
All right, baby. It's Tuesday. You know what time it is. It's time for Fred Talk Live right here on Instagram and your social networks. Want to welcome my guest, one, the only, Dave Mattis, for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Last minute, by the way. Yesterday, Angie and I were sitting in the room going, so who are we going to have on tomorrow? Because we were like, well, do you really want to talk together? And Angie's like, I'm never going to be in front of the camera. I'm always going to be behind there.
Right.
And I was like, all right. So then we started going through the list. And I was like, no. And I think she was like, how about Dave? I'm like, Mattis is always solid.
He's down.
Always solid. So I was like, she's like, yeah, we could talk real estate. And I'm like, okay, we talk real estate, talk about that, of course. That is your specialty. What, 20 plus years of real estate experience?
Yeah.
Right here, sitting in this room, which means 20 years plus of total real estate experience in this room.
Yeah, literally.
Adding yours and mine together. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
just
you
20.
have some. You have some. Absolutely.
Yeah, all I have is that I pay for it.
Yeah. No,
That's about.
you bought
that's about
you
it.
bought a couple of properties, so you're
Yeah, man.
You're ahead of most.
So, Dave, everybody knows, at least around here, that you do real estate. You're
Right.
the guy. Dave Mattis team. It's not even like Dave Mattis. It's the Dave
Right.
Mattis team.
Right.
So how about you give us a quick rundown on, what we could expect from the Dave Mattis team, who's involved in the Dave Mattis team, and then we'll get into more of the minutia.
Sounds good. Yeah, I started in real estate in 1995. All that good stuff. A lot of people start out in real estate, they have no clue, and that was that was the case with me. I was like, well, I'm ready to try something new, and why don't you do this? Actually, a couple of the people that I relied on for kind of mentorship, you might say, the one guy's a builder, and he said, why don't you go sell my houses? And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting, because I was always intrigued, by stuff like that. So that's actually, it just worked out, and I was getting, on my way to getting married to Mel. And so we just basically decided to try a new adventure. So I kind of owe a lot to her, to them actually for, Walter Greth for, recommending that. And then Mel for, kind of pushing me out the door.
You always need those women behind you, bro.
Absolutely.
Right?
Are you kidding me? So, did okay, and I mean, the strange thing about real estate is if you're still here after, since 1995, you're doing something right, or, some strange reason it took and it stuck, so I'm pretty happy about that actually, because it's kind of an accomplishment. It really is. So was selling a couple houses and then got recruited to be on a team over at Remax, which teams weren't even a thing back in 1997. So I was like, what's this? But then I went from selling 15 houses a year to 50, which again, you don't know that you can do that until someone shows you, or, you figure it out. So I actually, the person that I worked for wasn't the nicest person on the planet. So I don't really talk about her that much, but she kind of opened my eyes,
Right.
Yeah. So then the team is basically, my wife, Mel, she was kind of alongside me doing her thing. She's an interior designer by education, and she would go to, the real estate conventions, for Remax every year, faithfully we go and just get a ton out of it. And then we'd come back and we'd be all fired up, and she'd be like, hey, why don't you become my assistant, And then the next year was, hey, why don't you just get your license? So that's how the team evolved basically. So she got her license. She's working alongside me as a buyer's agent. And then Dave Renninger in my office is he's a full agent, does both listings and buyer sales. And he was in there in the office all the time, working, showing up on a daily basis. And I noticed that. And then I reached out to him for some coverage. I think it was probably for convention coverage. But, we definitely, vacations for us are non-negotiable, so we always need coverage for that. So then, do you know Jackie Mitten?
Yeah.
Yeah, the infamous Jackie Mitten. So I met her through, her business that she was in Interlace, and just seemed like she'd be the best realtor ever. So, she's like on a slow trajectory just based on her, home and family experience right now, but she's on the team. And then literally just this week, we had a new agent join us who had been at Remax for just about a year, but just kind of figured it would be a good fit, to bring him on and mentor him and try to get his career up and running. So we made some moves. You know, I have this amazing assistant named Leslie Flacco. I don't know if you've probably
I've talked with Leslie. Yeah.
yeah, and if you come to our events, she's always there greeting people, and she's just literally the nicest person on the planet. So then another opportunity presented itself to hire a full-time admin, which I really wasn't quite ready for yet, you know, because I was like, all right, we're growing the team, you know, and then at some point we'll, you know, bring on an additional person. But, you know, she came along and I had to grab her. So Erica Mockimer is her name, and she joined the team in middle of December.
Right on.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what even got you into real estate in '95? Like, what was the motive?
Well, like I said, it was just ready to try something new. And, you know, you hear about it. I mean, I was always intrigued by owning a home, you know, believe it or not. You know, somehow or another, I got pushed into owning my first house. Wasn't ready, you know, to buy a house by any means, but the family that I was sort of marrying into at that time was like, this is what you do. You know what I mean? You buy a house. So that's what we did. And to be perfectly honest, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it kind of opened up my eyes. And here again, it was like, you know, like I said about the 50 transactions, like you don't even know that you can do it, because my parents weren't that big on, you got to do this. You know, that just wasn't how I was raised, even though we did own our own home. So, yeah. So that was it. Then they just decided, I was at the end of the line with a job that I had, which I love, by the way, and I still keep in touch with my boss from those days. And I met Melanie at that paint store. Yeah, and actually,
that's so cute.
Another cool story is that his son just came to me about 3 weeks ago to say, hey, I'm ready to buy a house. So he's working.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's working with Mel.
That's great.
To find a home.
It's good that you keep those relations, because, you know, now it's paying off for you. You know, you have that good relationship with them prior, personally.
Yep.
And now it's actually like, oh, since I'm comfortable with this person, let me go ahead and do business with them.
Yeah, and I think that's really what we're all looking for in the business world. You know, it's not always easy, and if you don't grasp it, it's not, you know, that obvious to everybody, even though to me at this point, it's, you know, really obvious, you know.
No, for sure, man. And for me, like, you know, relationships are great, and they're pretty much the whole reason why I feel like my business is even successful here in Berks County, from doing the networking and relationships and all those great things. But what I really want to ask you, Dave, is like, what makes you get up in the morning and go, yo, man, I can't wait to help like my clients sell houses, buy houses. Like, you know, I know what motivates me every morning to get into this office. You know, I love my job and all that, but like, what makes Dave just want to be like the ultimate real estate agent?
I have to show up every day and do my best. Yeah. That's a great question. Honestly, it all boils back to my family, you know, even though this business and you owning your own business know that you spend a lot of time away from your family, you know, because you're out there trying, you know, to grind and get it done and do the best you can. So that's ultimately what it boils down to, is just wanting to do the absolute best that I can for them, and to have some sort of control over my, you know, destiny. Right.
I'm so into that.
Right. And, you know, I mean, if you put the time in any business, but especially real estate, I mean, we get paid pretty well. So if you put the time in and you know, handle yourself properly and try to treat it like a win-win. It's not always that, but you certainly, that's the goal. So then as far as what is rewarding about this job, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's just addictive, you know, just like success, you know, like you know, with your growth over the last, you know, 3 or 4 years, it's, you know, I can just feel like it's the same general principle, you know, it's like there's a pride to knowing that all of the things that you've created, the systems and processes and things like that are working, you know, and then and they're paying off. And then the people out there, because, you know, salespeople have this, you know, cloud over our head that, you know, real estate agents are no better than used car salesmen, and nothing against used car salesmen. You know, everybody's got to sell something. But, you know, I want to overcome that. You know,
I think that's crazy. That's people really like compare you guys to used car salesmen.
I promise you that if you polled 100 different people, you know, I think it's gotten better.
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, you really, you know, and we just want to take pride in what we do, and helping someone through these processes of either helping them buy a home and find just the right one, and you know, the right financing, and overcoming some hurdles, which inevitably come up in every transaction.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just super, super rewarding. And then I think the thing that I enjoy the most is when someone like you says, hey, Dave, I have this person, you need to work with. My daughter's coming up. She's ready to buy a house. You got to work with these guys, kind of like when Jill, called me the other day or emailed and said, hey, who do you know in this state, at which I love that, absolutely love it. So I think that's one of the most rewarding things.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think your reputation is definitely amazing. And Jill and I both had a discussion after the last thing we did and how we were like, we just got to talk to Mattis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's never even like Dave Rent's like, got to talk to Mattis, got to talk to Mattis. That's exactly what, we have to do. And we feel very confident talking to you. In the second, like we were in Orlando and, Jill gets ideas, man. And when Jill gets somewhere, she just goes.
That's it.
And she's like, well, what do we do? I'm like, call Mattis. Oh, that's exactly what I said. I was like, talk to Mattis, call Mattis. I'm like, there's no more second guessing anymore. Like, it's just, we had a very long discussion like a few months ago and we decided like, we're just going to stick to Mattis. And because we have definitely a lot of goals, coming up now. We were talking about just expanding the portfolio. And of course that includes real estate. And I was very intrigued by your presentation this morning, how you were talking about how the next couple of years, you might still be trending pretty good, man, with the interest rates. And like, cause I'm hearing from other people like the freaking world's going to end. And I'm like, really, you think so? And it was good and refreshing to hear you like, nah, I think we got a good 1 to 2 years.
Well, trust me, I've been through the really crappy market. Like I joined back. So I got out of business, the real estate business in 2000 to do mortgages. So for 5 years I did mortgages and the market was going crazy. So I was doing a ton of, and I really enjoyed it, by the way. It was a great matchup to what I was doing. But then I just was inside a real estate office. That's where my mortgage office was. And I just kind of felt like, I want to get back to this. I'm so good at it. And all these people are, so I got back in 2005. So market was still really good. So I had 5, 6, 7, 8, and it really didn't tank in Berks County till 2009. But I guess the ultimate moral is I've lived through, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, where we had, 14 months worth of inventory. And you told me, you heard me say today, we had, 0.9 months worth of inventory.
Like you said, you could actually get rid of them all in like a month or something like that.
If no more listings came on the market that, and we continued at the current sales pace that we're on, those houses would be gone. That is
insane.
It is. And it's not good. I mean, it's good, but, it's a little painful, because, we want to get listings, and if we get them, they sell. I was just talking, in the foyer with someone who we just put her house. We just put her house on the market last Tuesday or Wednesday, in the city, and we have a pretty decent offer on it already.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
So we've been through the bubble, and I myself got caught by the bubble. I bought a pretty fair amount of real estate in 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I had to sit there and, Mel and I are in it for the long haul with real estates, but I had to sit there and watch, something I paid this for be worth this, and even rental amounts went down here, but then gradually, we're climbing back.
It's almost like the stock market.
Right.
I was just going to ask that. I wrote down, is the real estate market similar to the stock market, or do they go hand in hand?
Well, they're totally different in that the stock market is like this instantaneous thing almost,
right.
And if something does climb, it's not, over a 10-year period, it can go up like a rocket.
GameStop.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, but at the same time, like if everybody in 4, 5, 6 and so on was all thinking about real estate like as a bank, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we're going to buy this house, the value is going to go up to here, and we're going to pull the equity out, and we're going to go buy another house, and people still do that successfully, but people got crushed by that, Wow. So that is, it's just not as much of a thing. You can certainly still do that, but you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the lenders are a lot more careful. They're actually, getting a loan, getting a mortgage is a pain. And I don't care if you're qualified or whatever, but I mean, they're not holding back, but they're making it more difficult to make sure that their butts are covered.
It's definitely a lot more difficult, especially with commercial. when we were trying for that other property, we had a chance to even think about a few months ago, and we were just like talking to Rob and Reem, obviously, and another person, Jason Hornberger, Russ like recommended him to me.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
and
Riverview or something like that.
Yeah, and we were just talking, and the amount of stuff they wanted from us, I was like, and I'm like, wow, when I bought this place, I thought it was a miracle that I got it.
Right.
And this time I'm like 20 times more prepared.
Right.
And I actually have more money. And I was like, okay, I'm good to go on this one.
Right. Right.
And it was like, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
They wanted all of these things, and this had to be in place. And what's this going to happen? And what if that happens? I was like, wow, man.
Yeah.
They make it tough now.
Well, I did a couple refinances over during the quarantine. One for my primary residence, and 2 of our rental properties actually had private mortgages. And we wanted to, while the rates were so good, we wanted to end those and move on. To get a regular fixed rate mortgage till the end of time. And it was torture. It really was. So,
Wow.
Yeah. If there's one thing that I can say to people, I get asked what's the toughest thing about the process. It's they don't expect the mortgage process to be that hard.
Wow.
Yeah.
And other than having to get your real estate license for the state of Pennsylvania, did you have to do any other further education for real estate?
You really don't. You have the classes. I think it might be up to 75 hours of classes that you have to take and pass, and then go and pass two portions of the real estate exam. There's a state portion and a national portion. Yeah, and then you have. Every 2 years, you have continuing ed, 14 hours. So there's a real low threshold to get in the business. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just about soft and hardcore skills as a person. It's about your selling skills mostly.
Yeah. Maybe time management.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Organization, and then just being open to. I guess boiling it back to the relationships, and trying to make sure it's a win-win. Because I sort of think, with Josh, who, like I said, the new guy on the team, he's been in the business for almost a year, but he really, hasn't done that many transactions. And I'm thinking about myself back then, how clueless I was, so it's pretty intimidating. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the great things that you do is branding, and you're a perfect example of how branding is not just a logo.
Yes.
And a lot of people think branding is oh, well, you got your logo right and we're done.
Right.
Because this is a marketing podcast. It's not all about,
right.
Just real estate or whatever we talk about. So I love that. Here's a perfect example. So I invite Dave to come onto the show, and he's always a solid guest. And he shows up. He's like, hey, Fred, here's a gift. And it's got... Remax of Reading, your referrals are sweet. Thank you for your business. There's sweets in here because it's Valentine's Day. Pictures of Dave and all that stuff. But this isn't the only thing that Dave does. Dave has been known to give out American flags at certain times of the year. He's been known to deliver pies. And he this morning gave away windshield washer fluid. He sent me a Farmer's Almanac in the mail. This man is constantly reminding you that he exists. That he's never too busy for your referrals, obviously. And I remember everything that Dave does because he's always on top of mind. He's always making sure it's a great time when he's around. When we have poker nights here for the exclusive few in our area, Dave's always here. He's one of the first people we think about inviting to poker nights because of his character and how cool he is and how much of an asset he is to the area. But it comes down to just being a good person. And being very cool to your clients and being very cool to the community. And I just want to commend you on being really good at branding, dude, because what people don't really realize is that it's not just this, here's my logo, Fred Talk, that's cool, but it's only one small aspect of the whole package.
Right.
And I really, really dig the way you always respect your clients and you're always giving back. And that's really... freaking admirable.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I mean, coming from you, that means the world, to be perfectly honest,
dude.
because it's hard to watch you do everything, perfectly.
I don't know about perfectly,
Come
bro.
on, Fred. But from the
We're
outside, Mutual Admiration Society, that's how it looks. I mean, everything that you do, like almost on a weekly basis, is mind blowing. So, maybe I borrow or steal a couple of ideas.
You should always.
Or thoughts from
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
You should always borrow and steal.
Definitely, we're definitely not perfect. Our camera isn't working,
Yes. Hey.
so perfection is not even real.
No,
It's
I
not.
know.
Yeah.
But tying that into my next question is, in 2010, the market did crash, and that's kind of interesting because you said 2009, the real estate market wasn't doing that good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just interested, like, when is a moment that you failed in the real estate industry, and like, how did you overcome that to become a better real estate agent today?
And that's why I have Angie on the show.
Excellent question.
Thank you.
So I can't really sit here and say that I've failed in the real estate business. That's the first thing I'll just say to that. But if I could just say that, so I got recruited to be on that team back in 1997, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because, again, went from 20 sales to 50, and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even know human beings could do this,
Yeah.
in Berks County, Pennsylvania. I'm serious. But then what I did, because of this person that I worked with, just a very unkind person, even though she's helped me get to that point of selling 50 houses, the relationship just sort of deteriorated. And what I decided to do, and I think this is, I don't want to be too hard on myself, but I kind of chickened out almost from going out on my own because I was sort of threatened with a non-compete, and I don't even think you can do a non-compete in real estate. I really don't. So it almost wasn't real, but that's what caused me to stop selling real estate and get into the mortgage business.
Oh,
You know what I
okay.
mean? And even though, that path was pretty cool because I learned a ton and, helped me, acquire even more properties. It was kind of nice. I was in the corporate world for a little while. I was affiliated with Chase, which was pretty cool. So that's really the biggest hiccup. If someone says, well, what's your biggest regret? It's that. And then secondly, in 2005, when I picked up the phone and called another person at Remax that has a team, a wonderful, wonderful person. And I said, hey, are you thinking about, expanding the team at all? And she wasn't, but she was like, why wouldn't I take a chance on you, Dave? So I jumped back onto a team. And, even though I have a team and I advocate teams being great, for me personally, I should have just went out on my own. First of all, in 2000, I should have just been my own agent because I'd be light years ahead of where I am now, and I'm really happy with where I am now. So, and then same thing, just kind of took the security of, being underneath somebody as opposed to just forging my own way. So then when she finally said, Dave, you're ready to leave the team, would you please just go, and she finally booted me out the door. Then I went out on my own, and all of the things that I was doing, were paying off. So you get too busy to handle all the leads, and then that's when you start to bring on, other people. So I don't know if you consider that a failure, but it, stands out to me.
I think it does.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say that, you went a different direction than you were even gonna consider. And you did put your foot in the door of being your own kind of boss and your own real estate agent, but you still had that support behind you just before you actually made the full leap.
Yeah, and I had a regret or two, I guess is the way.
Well,
the
who
way
doesn't? That's how
you
you learn, bro.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, listen, you didn't start your own thing, but you went to the mortgage world for a while.
Right.
You're telling me that in no way helped you?
Oh, it did.
I'm saying
Yeah,
everything happens for a
exactly.
reason.
Yeah.
For me, one of the biggest things that happened to me was I used to work at Sam Goody, the good old music retailer.
Goody got it.
Love Goody got it. I love music. And the store closed, and we all know what happened to record stores. And I was forced to take a job at CVS at the time. I was an assistant manager. I'm like, why am I taking this job? This sucks. The most money I ever got paid in my life, it was through CVS.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I got to take this job because I had Angie, I had a kid, I had responsibilities. And even though I hated it, that's where I met Jill.
There you
And
go.
Jill was my boss, and the rest is history.
It's
so
magic, yeah.
it's things suck at the time it happens, but there's a reason for everything, dude.
Agreed.
So that, I guess you can, is it a failure? Nah, maybe it was just one of those things you take a step back and you see what's up. But that was definitely with you. I worked for somebody for 5 years. I had this already going. FXV Digital was rocking and rolling, and I took a job with one of my clients, and I wasted 5 years.
Yeah.
With them, and their company went this way,
Yeah.
and my company went that way.
Yeah.
and I had to redo the whole thing. Well, but that's where coming into Berks County helped.
Yeah.
And hanging out with you cats was it definitely kicked up the business.
Yeah. Same general feeling, basically. You know, it's like, yeah, well, I shouldn't, you know, I wasted those 5 years, so to speak. But, you know, hey, you didn't. It was a growth period or whatever it caused you to like, you know, see the daylight, you know, of what you should be doing.
It taught me how not to do business.
Yeah. And it was, and Fred, you know, listen, you and I, I'm assuming we're close in age. I actually forget how old you are.
42.
Okay. Well, we're nowhere near each other. Sorry. Holy crap. That was an insult. No, I'm way older
Thanks,
than you.
Dave.
So
Thanks for coming by, Dave.
I just insulted you on your podcast. What the heck was my point?
That's called marketing stress.
But watching you come into, you know, the world with Russell, you know, to come to BCNA, which is, I think, where I first met you.
16.
You know, I mean, you know, it's like you are two different people, you know, just with what you've learned since then. So, you know, I don't know.
Learned how to be a Berks Countyan.
That ain't easy to do, buddy.
No, man, because if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much, apparently.
God darn right.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard
you
that saying before.
Yeah, Ian Koski told me that. He was
That's
like,
funny.
if you ain't Dutch, you
You
ain't
ain't
much. I'm like,
much.
I'm not Dutch. Definitely
That's
not.
funny. But I was stalking your LinkedIn a little bit, just getting to know you and your real estate stuff. And I found out that you actually dominate Berks, Schuylkill, Montgomery, Chester, Lancaster, and Lebanon County. And that's crazy to me. And I'm just interested in, like, what is your marketing strategy for all these houses, and how, like, how do you just advertise these houses online and then people take the hit?
Well, with the internet, print advertising, you know, it just isn't a thing. I mean, I have a small little ad in the Eagle on Sunday because Remax has like an institutional ad on the front page of the real estate section, which almost isn't even a real estate section anymore. I mean, no offense, you know, to the
Eagles changed.
paper folks. Yeah, it's brutal. So that's the only print advertising I do. The rest is networking. But then when it comes to properties, it's really it's the multi-list, it's Zillow. I do a ton of video. Like I try to do as much video as I possibly can, and I go through phases where I'll do 3 in a row, and then I'll go through like 3 weeks. I'm like, man, I haven't done a video in a long time, so I got to get a little better at that. But so really, it's just the internet and getting it out there, and thank God for that, because it, you know, somebody coming down from New York or someone moving in from Nevada that's, you know, relocated to Carpenter or whatever can find us and find all the houses out there.
Right.
Know? Yeah.
That's so cool. Love that. And if you ever need anybody to film like the houses inside, I will totally do that, because that sounds fun.
Well, I totally enjoy it. And I joke, like at the meeting this morning, I joke about like my ego. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily that big. I kind of like make a joke about that because we, you know, real estate agents like you, Freddie, we have to plaster our face like on everything,
bro.
Right? That's just, it's just the way it is. But I genuinely enjoy like, going out and doing a video of a house and like a Facebook Live walkthrough. And I'm like, and again, you're light years ahead of me with how well you do that. And, but I really, really enjoy it.
I think you have your own style, dude. Yeah. I think that's definitely, I don't see any other real estate agents doing what you're doing. I don't. I mean, not that I need to look for many, but like at the same time, like I'm on the internet, I'm on Facebook, I'm on everything.
Right.
So I'm like, I see Mattis, and then some. I mean,
a couple others, you know.
I would say Joel Dennis would be another one that kind of comes to mind right away. Like as far as doing certain things, but I always see you, doing your social media, doing your videos, doing your networking. I see other networking things I wouldn't even expect to see you at.
Yeah.
And there's Dave Mattis. I'm like, well, there he is. I mean, he's doing his thing. And sometimes it's nice to see it because then, if I'm not in the mood to meet new people, I'm like, I'm just gonna go.
We
talk
have
to Dave.
somebody that we can chill. We
don't
can
wanna
chill
deal
with.
it, today. But yeah, dude. I mean, I love everything that you do. So, I guess for me, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got things to do today. What is your like? For me, I'm curious, right? This is like a Fred question right here. Like, what makes you come up with these things? Like, what makes you think, let me make this box with chocolate in it? Like, what makes you think about dropping off those pies during tax season right to the accountants? That's what you do? Like, what's like your process? Like, what do you do? Like, do you sit there at a table with Mel or like?
With Leslie. And Mel chimes in sometimes. We value her opinion tremendously. So, yeah, we literally sit around because again, the way I talked earlier about time management and the way like we've had a bunch of growth and we've reached a certain amount where we're selling a certain amount of homes, per year every year, and we want to continue to grow that. But the way to do that is by having a system and a process. So we now have a marketing calendar. First of all, that's like in January. Okay, who are we mailing to? Are we doing a video? Are we doing sending something out to my community where I live? In Green Valley. And then we also have we call these pop buys. Okay, the one trainer that we follow calls them pop buys because you're popping by and you're just just some token of appreciation to show I love you. I'm glad to see you.
That's so nice.
Dave loves me.
I hope that doesn't
Dave
sound too
me.
cheesy, buddy. I'm
No,
sorry.
I love you, man. I think a lot of people are afraid to say love. They say hate in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So we call them pop buys, and we actually have a pop buy calendar. And we had, now that the team's growing, I feel the need to have like a few more meetings. I mean, the last thing in the world anybody needs is meetings. But now, I pulled everybody together today, and we were calling it a huddle. And we were just discussing, so many different things. Our buyer packets. How do the agents want to see their buyer packets? We were talking about, taking on a new, like a large scale volunteering / fundraising thing. Last year we did a blood drive, and of course you're the master at that as well. But like I've been thinking, like we should do something, whether it's going to be veterans or scholarships or trash in the city of Reading has always been a pet peeve of mine. So I don't know what it'll be, but we were all just sitting around the table, and we started off with recognition, which was really cool, So anyway, I think it's all just about having a system and a process for making your life easier.
The Dave Mattis team really sounds like a well-oiled machine. It really does. You guys sound so organized and just like disciplined to what you got to do to be the best real estate team that you can be.
Well,
that's awesome.
I feel like that could be true. I mean, when you say well-oiled machine, and you have like, again, at BCNA, people don't know maybe what we're talking about with BCNA this morning. I got to speak, and there was a lot of high praise flowing around, and I feel kind of weird about that sometimes. But you just have to sort of sit there and smile and say that's cool.
Well, you did a great job, and the packet you brought in this morning was legit.
Yeah.
I opened it not looking for the information. I opened it looking at how it was laid out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was like, it's this beautiful folder. Open it up. Dave's card. Dave's business card is one of the better business cards I've seen in the area too.
Really?
It's freaking thick. Has a red border around it. I'm like, was that Moo? Is that Moo.com?
No, actually, no. Interlace. Yeah.
Nice
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like a Moo, but that's why I get my stuff at Moo. But I love the way that was. It was nice and thick. You have everything laid out into 2 pockets, all the information you need. Like I was like, wow, this is like, how do you not, hire Dave Mattis? How do you not hire the team?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's the branding, that's the marketing. Like it's not just about, like, oh, I can sell your house. It's like the way you present yourself. I mean, even today, you're in a sports jacket, a nice little, I'm in a t-shirt, and this guy's, decked out. Like, again, you don't do anything half-assed, dude. Like you definitely. Yeah. Your brand is who you are and how you present yourself, and everything that you give out is presented so well. I mean, I look forward to all the mail I get I look forward to your mail in my mailbox.
That's
when you
fantastic.
say, hey, this is the tip this month, or this is what you should be looking out for. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
It's funny because like you almost think about the mail, how people were so sick of getting junk mail, right?
Right.
And I feel like now they're so inundated with spam mail. It makes you wonder if mail is something that you should be doing more of, because I don't get a lot of junk mail anymore.
Right. Right.
But I see yours. I'm like, oh, Dave sent me a thing. I'm like, open it up. I read it.
I think it's very personable.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm glad to hear you guys say that because here again, it's one of those things where, we want to just make people smile. We don't want to bombard them with, hey, you're going to sell your house today. You're going to, we just want to make people smile and think of us so that when they, are at the water cooler on Monday and someone says, yeah, we're thinking about selling the house, I got a guy for you. That's
top of mind.
Yeah, that's really
well,
what
it's like
what it
I
comes
tell
down
everybody, why does Pepsi and Coke, why do they still make commercials? Because
Seriously.
you just have to just always be on top of mind. So
Exactly.
quick little, recap for my marketing peeps. I know there's people out there that are always asking me about, specific niches and how to do specific marketing. So I want to give you a quick rundown right here of what we learned from Dave Mattis today. Real estate is relationships are number one. The guy gets tons of referrals, and there's a reason behind that because of how he presents himself, how he holds himself, how he represents his team, and how he puts his team out there. He's always giving out, like, here we go. We just learned pop buys. And now I want to come up with pop buys of my own. But again, branded to the T. He has a beautiful packet for his buyers. It's called the buyer packet, and it's got great information in it. His website's tops, obviously. I've been there a few times. He's always thinking about his clients. He even does certain mixers a couple of times a year that we hope to get to back one day soon. We can start doing that again. He's always doing that for his clients and for his favorite people. So it's really about relationships. Number one, at the end of the day, when there's people out there who are always talking about like, how can I do this on social media? Or how can I do that on advertising? You've done it with just being able to go out there, meet people, be sociable, be helpful, pick up the phone. This man picked up the phone on a Sunday when I called you once to help out my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy picks up the phone, and believe it or not, that's one of the things that I get a lot too is, Fred, you're going to be so successful. I'm like, why? Because you pick up the phone.
Yeah.
It's little things like that. Being human will get you to so much farther in life, in business, and God knows all kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, it matters. That's all I can say.
Man.
Is, the fact that someone's actually calling me on a Sunday, it matters to me. So
yeah, well, because you think about how like they're calling you.
Yeah.
And they could be calling a million other marketing people. They could be calling a million other real estate people, but they decided to call you. So it's almost like, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So Dave, man, thank you once again, bro, for coming on in on short notice. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
And, definitely check out Dave Mattis if you're in the area, if you're kind of around the area, DaveMattisTeam.com. That's where you're going to get all the information. Maybe you can be his friend on LinkedIn. Definitely check him out on LinkedIn and watch his videos. He's got great videos on social media, great videos on YouTube. I've been featured a couple times too, if you want to look for Fred.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the first video, I was like really big. The second video, I'm not as big. So I'm trying to get even smaller for the third video. So hopefully we can figure that out. So Dave, man, thanks a lot for being on Fred Talk. I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure.
Always. And always check us out online. Check us out on FXVDigital.com and always use hashtag Fred Talk, hashtag FXV Digital, and all of your social networks at FXV Digital. This is your man, Freddie Vasquez, signing off with Angie right there behind the ones and the twos. See you guys really, really soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, brother.